Welcome to the Intimate Marriage Podcast, where I teach educated, successful couples how to have incredible, passionate relationships so that you can stop compromising and start feeling fully alive in your relationship. I'm Alexandra Stockwell, aka the Intimacy Doctor. I'm a physician, a relationship and intimacy coach, and I'm an intimate marriage expert. My husband and I have been married for 26 years. We have 4 children and full professional lives, and we've created an amazing marriage. I've shown hundreds of couples how to do so as well. So if you want to deepen your understanding of your own relationship and learn to access new heights of emotional, sensual, and erotic intimacy, you're in the right place. I will show you how. Now, let's dive in. If you're new to the Intimate Marriage Podcast, a warm welcome. And if you're a regular listener, I'm so excited that you're back. And if you're an occasional listener, same thing. And whether or not this is your first time you've listened to a bunch of episodes, or you are a loyal listener who listens every time, I'm going to presume that you are interested in experiencing great sex. I don't think that's the only thing you care about in your life or in your relationship, but it is something that you'd like to be enjoying on a regular basis. The thing is, great sex is about as vague a term as we could use. I've had some amazing guests come on the podcast recently. Maybe you've heard Sherry Winston talking about the pussycats and puppy dog theory of lovemaking, or Alexa and Jordan Bowditch and their amazing revelations and ways of speaking about things, or Dr. Jack and Paul Sherman. Their episode was super hot. However, in none of those episodes or any other one have I actually taken the care to slow down enough and describe what we mean when we say great sex. Is it something you've thought about? It's pretty easy to recognize bad sex. It's when your mind wanders. It's when it feels like a chore. It's when, as a woman, you might be tempted to fake orgasm just so things end. It's when things are painful. It's when, as a man, you're feeling inadequate. It's disconnection. It's routine. It's rote activity. And I don't know that it's bad sex particularly, but when it's not consuming and nourishing. There's a lot more descriptions one could have with bad sex, when it's without consent, when it's violent. I'm not going there in the context of this episode. I'm really talking about the kind of bad sex that you would have in the context of lovemaking in a healthy marriage where both people are respectful towards one another and kindness is a shared value. In that situation, bad sex is the kind of sex that leaves you not wanting more, being naked and your bodies intertwined infrequently, and feeling like duty overrides desire. It's great when they coincide, but duty wins the day. That is, like, in order to be a good wife or a good husband, you're going to participate. All of that, for the purposes of this particular conversation, comes under the category of bad sex. But what is it that makes for great sex? Ecstasy, erotic communion, bliss beyond the words, or even just plain heading in that direction? Well, the main thing that I want you to take from this episode is that great sex is about a feeling. There's no particular activity that constitutes great sex. It's a particular feeling that you have. So you could pick position number, I don't know what, from the Kama Sutra. You could have sex on your kitchen island while the kids are at school. You could have a swing. You could have music on. Whatever it is, there is absolutely nothing that guarantees great sex that has to do with mechanical activity, that has to do with sexual positions. What makes for great sex is how it feels. It means you need to be in your body, feeling sensations, and not going into your head and disconnecting, not going into your head and judging the experience, just opening your heart and going with the physical and emotional sensations. And there are many different flavors of feelings that can make for great sex, but I really want to emphasize it's how it feels that makes it great, not any particular activity. Now, this is conceptually easier to distinguish because, of course, certain activities are going to lead to certain feelings. And so you could correlate the activities, but fundamentally, it's how they feel. And to drive the point home more simply, there are certain sexual activities that my husband and I have done, and they have been great sex. They have felt so good. And over time, doing those exact same things no longer constitutes great sex because it doesn't feel as incredible. It feels a little flatter, a little less engaging, a little less nourishing, a little less fire burning through me. Now, the other thing about great sex in the context of a relationship, of being relational with your partner, is that when you have sex, it is always a communication. And what that communication is definitely connected with the feeling, but I'm going to address it as a different topic. The communication you might make is, I want you to be more helpful with household chores. And in fact, there's this ridiculous statistic. I've only seen it once, and I'm always a little suspicious about how these kinds of statistics are gathered. But anyway, one study I saw says that 84% of women have used sex in order to get their husbands to help with household chores. That would be using sex as a particular communication, even when it's not spoken. Other communications might be, I love you. I appreciate you so much. Another communication might be, I just want to forget everything else and get lost with you. Another communication might be, I want to feel taken care of. Another might be, I just want to love on you this evening. Or, I'm your wife. I know I have to do this. I'm your husband. I want to be more skillful. Let me try this. This is obviously not an exhaustive list, but ask yourself, the last time you had sex, what was the communication you wanted to make? And if you think there wasn't any, look a little deeper, because at a minimum, maybe it was, let's get this over with. Or maybe this time it will be, whatever. Because anytime you're going to make love, you're making a communication, and the most successful communications are when both you and your partner have communications that are synced up. Even when it's not conscious, when it's synced up, that is way more likely to create the kinds of feelings that result in great sex. In fact, just last night, I was thinking about sharing this on the podcast. And so my husband and I had some time together at the end of the evening, and it was very clear what direction we were headed. And I said, what do you desire? What are you in the mood for? And what he was in the mood for was just to see what happened, to see what unfolded. And that too is a communication. It's the communication of, I want to explore. I don't want to control. I want to see what arises. And so rather than my coming in with a particular agenda or desire, I synced up with, let's see what arises. And what arose was so beautiful, and it definitely felt good. And the communication went from, let's see what arises, to, this is so beautiful what lives between us. And I love that we get to feel it with our bodies too. So I really hope that you consider, what did you want to communicate? And how did you want to feel the last time you had sex? And was it satisfying? Was it great? What can you learn from it? And the next time you want to have sex, what do you want to communicate? And how do you want to feel? And believe me, I am not suggesting that you should be able to nail it down in beautiful words and linguistic elegance. Not at all. You don't need to actually express any of this verbally, but internally orienting to where you're headed, and have where you're headed be a shared communication and a feeling rather than any specific position. Let the position or the technique that you use be in service of the feeling you're looking to create. I'm really excited for how this is going to serve you. And as I've implied, I've been having so much fun really leaning in and playing with this concept in my own marriage. And if you find that there's a communication you want to make or a feeling you want to have, and you're not sure how to create it, by all means, go to my website, alexandrastockwell.com, and contact me through the communication form, and I would be very glad to answer your question in another podcast episode. I'm hoping to have a collection of you reach out and say, what I want to feel is cherished. What I want to feel is like I can connect skillfully. Whatever it is, you tell me, and then I'll do some podcast episodes on how exactly you might create that experience. So be sure to let me know and keep listening as I explore how to show up and be nurtured sexually and in your communication through sex, because that's the thing I'm focusing on in some of the upcoming episodes.